Welcome back to BPS Detailing. This is my dad's old pickup and he's getting ready to sell it. So I'm just going to go over really quickly doing a paint correction just on this one little section just to show you guys right in here. So I've already, it's been washed and decontaminated and all of that stuff. So right now I'm going to clay it really quick. Actually, I've already clayed this probably, I'd say about two or 3 months ago. So it doesn't need it too badly, but there's definitely some spots that I can see there's some stuff embedded on there where it's not as smooth as it should be. So I'm going to do a quick clay job here, just kind of for demonstration purposes also. So here's the clay that I'm using. It is Meguiar's Professional Detailing Clay. It's really good stuff. This is the mild stuff. I really like it. But this is what I normally use, the NanoSkin Handy Towel. This is probably my favorite thing to do. And it's actually best to use one of these, like, I would wash the car and then rinse it, and then I would get out my NanoSkin Glide, which I have already diluted in this bottle here, and then I just go around the vehicle after it's rinsed, so it's already got some water on it, and just spray that stuff, and just kind of wipe this over the entire car and then take off the rest of the bonded contaminants with that. But it's pretty cold outside, especially right now. The sun just went down, so I'm going to go ahead and just use a standard clay bar and clay this little section, and then we'll move on to the next part. So I've been kneading this little piece of clay to get it warm and more malleable, and so it just softens it up. Some people like to put it in hot water, but I've found that these clays, it depends on the clay bar. It works good for some, it doesn't work as good for other clay bars. So the water can kind of make it kind of break apart, disintegrate a little bit. So I generally don't like to use water to heat it up, but a lot of pros do it and get great results from it. So what you want to do is spray some of the solution directly on the clay bar, and then spray some where you're going to be working, and you pretty much more the better with this stuff. So you want to make sure you have plenty of lubrication. If you don't have enough lubrication, especially if you're using like a cheaper clay bar or more aggressive, cheaper type of clay, it's gonna scratch your vehicle, and it can scratch it up really badly if you're not doing it properly. So when you apply the clay to the paint, you're not putting any downward pressure at all. You're only having enough downward pressure to keep contact with the paint surface, and so that you don't actually drop the clay. Because if you drop it, as you probably know if you're watching this video, you will have to throw the whole thing away, because you're going to pick up dirt, rocks, things like that are probably going to be a lot bigger than the contaminants you're going to be lifting off of the paint surface, and that can just be really, really detrimental to the finish. So people explain claying as kind of like you're shaving, except you're doing it a lot faster. But that's the idea. It's like you're shaving your face, or if you're a female, your legs or something. So you kind of want to have just kind of quick and smooth motions, and you don't want a lot of pressure because you're picking that stuff up. Now this section right here actually feels pretty darn smooth already. So there's just not a lot of contaminants on this thing, and that's, like I said, because I clayed it myself within the last few months or so. So it's still in pretty good shape, but there's other sections I noticed were pretty bad, and I kind of wanted to give you a quick example here. So once you're running this over the paint, you can feel when you're picking up contaminants if you're doing it right. And you can feel once it gets smooth. And once it gets smooth, you really don't want to be running the clay over it many more times like I've been doing here. But this pickup is, it's like 15 years old or something, and it's got about 200,000 miles on it. And this paint, this vehicle's been out in the woods, and it's been kind of, it's in pretty good shape, but it's definitely had a lot of branches dragged down the side of it. It's always been pretty much ran through the automatic car wash, so it's got a lot of defects on it. So I'm not too concerned with the minor things in this video. So I'll, kind of one of those do as I say, not as I do type of things on this one. Because I'm not really concerned with little tiny micro marring that's going to happen. But I'm still, careful enough. This just isn't a great representation of how I would do a detail on, say, like a $30,000 vehicle or more. And when I get a nicer vehicle, I'm extremely careful and methodical about all of this stuff, because it's just really important to me and to some of my customers. I think I'm more concerned with the final finish than probably 99% of my customers are, but that's because this is my job. It's my job to worry about it. So hopefully you can see those scratches here, like this one, or they're in pretty deep through the clear coat and stuff. And then there's tons of micro marring and scratches in this paint. I'm not sure if it's going to show up. If I can get the right angle maybe. But yeah, there's a lot of swirls and just micro scratches. So it's in pretty rough shape. And this clear coat isn't particularly hard. It's kind of in the middle as far as hardness. So what I'm going to be using today is I've actually got a pretty aggressive pad. I'm using my Flex 3401. This is a gear driven forced rotation dual action polisher, and this is a Lake Country force heavy cutting pad. So it's a pretty aggressive pad, but for the compound I'm using Griot's correcting cream. So this stuff is kind of similar in cut as, like, Sonak's Perfect Finish. It's kind of a medium grade cut, and then it finishes down really, really nicely. Griot's recommends using an orange pad with this, and this pad I'm using is just a little more aggressive because I'm shaking it up here. You always want to shake your compound or polish before you use it, because it's got all those abrasives in there, and you want to make sure that they didn't, the heavier duty abrasive didn't kind of fall down to the bottom. So you always want to give it a really good shake, and that goes same for most detailing products, chemicals in general. You want to give stuff a good shake most of the time. Alright, So now that we've got that all ready to go, I'm ready to start polishing. Noise warning if you're wearing headphones. It's going to be a bit loud for a minute here. So, got a few. I put like 4 little dots on there. This is a pretty small area, but this is a large pad as well. I like cutting with a larger pad because really what you're doing is you're removing material from the surface, right, when you're correcting paint. So the larger pad you have, the more material you can remove from the car or from the painted surface before you need to clean your pad or change pads. So having a larger pad for cutting, for me anyway, is just ideal because that means you can get more work done more quickly, without having to mess with changing stuff around as often. A lot of people will go with the 5-inch pads and they'll kind of just stick with that kind of for the whole vehicle. And I would definitely do that. It's not a huge difference, but when I can, I like to use this is, I believe, a 6.5 inch or maybe 7 inch. I think it's a 6.5. So really nice for that. But if you've only got one backing plate, if you're more of a beginner, you're better off probably just having the 5.5 size. That way you don't have to worry about buying another backing plate and buying different size pads and so on and so forth. Alright, so I'm going to get at it now. I'm going to start off at speed 1, just kind of work the product in. Then I'm going to ramp it up to about speed 4, 4.5. Alright, got a few passes in. Kind of slowed down and tried to focus on this piece right here. That's that white scratch I showed earlier. And I kind of just sat on it for a second to see if I could get it to come off of there, but I couldn't. So I have to go again on that one. Maybe I might hit it with a little bit of wet sanding, or I might just break out the hybrid nano, see if that'll take care of it. So I sprayed this. What I'm using, I got a clean microfiber towel, and then I sprayed it with some my own special mixture of, I like to use Gion Prep, and then I actually mix it with a little bit of distilled water and a little bit of alcohol. And I do that really to save money, because you get the surfactants from the Gion Prep, and then the alcohol and water I just use as kind of a filler, because Gion Prep is pretty expensive stuff, and it's a great product. You know, if I'm doing a higher end job, I might use straight Gion Prep, but for the most part my IPA mixture with that stuff works really well. So I like to do that. It smells good. The surfactants in it make it work better than just using straight up alcohol and water, which a lot of people use, and you know, I guess it works great for a lot of people, but I find that this stuff just works better. It just takes it takes the leftover compound and everything off a lot quicker. So it looks like we really got quite a decent level of correction here. So I didn't tape it off or anything, but I'll just kind of show you where I hit and where I didn't hit. So maybe, there we go. So hopefully you can see that most of the defects are gone from this area. There's a tiny little paint chip right up here, but that really took out a large percentage of the defects. There's still some on this edge where the fender flare starts. Alright, I shouldn't say well, I guess it's kind of. There's just a contour in the body line here. But right here it looks really good. It's got a lot more depth and clarity to it in this section, and then compare that to this section and you've got a lot of swirling and a lot of marks there. I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera, but it really, just from those few passes, it made a big difference. It's there's a lot of oxidation. Here's kind of the line right here. So it's kind of the good part and then the bad part. You can see, if you look at the head of the flashlight, you can see how sharp the light looks in this area where we just polished, and then you can see how distorted it looks over here. So it looks sharp, looks distorted. Sharp, distorted. So it really did make a big difference just doing those few passes. So I hope this video helped you out. If you got any questions, comments, please leave them down in the comment section. Subscribe. Have a great day.